The tragic legacy of the Ogoni Nine, voices silenced and nation stained. The morning of November 10, 1995, dawned over Port Harcourt with an unusual stillness. In the heart of the city, at the gallows of a military tribunal, 9 men were led to their deaths. They were writers, farmers, and leaders, ordinary men whose extraordinary courage had turned them into symbols of resistance. In the early 1990s, the Niger Delta region of Nigeria became a focal point of environmental activism and human rights advocacy, largely due to the efforts of the Ogoni Nine, a group of activists from the Ogoni ethnic group. Their campaign against environmental degradation and economic marginalization, primarily attributed to the operations of multinational oil companies, culminated in their arrest and execution in 1995. This incident not only highlighted the struggles of the Ogoni people, but also drew international attention to the broader issues of environmental justice and corporate responsibility in Nigeria. For decades, the Ogoni land in the Niger Delta had been an Eden of lush mangroves and fertile farmlands. But beneath its surface lay oil, black gold that brought immense wealth to oil companies like Shell, but left the Ogoni people in ruin. The rivers turned to sludge, farmlands were poisoned, and the air thickened with smoke from flaring gas. The extraction activities, predominantly by the Royal Dutch Shell Company, led to severe environmental degradation, including oil spills and gas flaring, which devastated local ecosystems and adversely affected the livelihoods of the Ogoni community. In response to these challenges, the Movement for the Survival of the Ogoni People, MOSOP, was formed in 1990. MOSOP aimed to advocate for the rights of the Ogoni people seeking environmental remediation and a fair share of the oil revenues. Among the Ogoni, a voice rose loud and clear. Ken Saro-Wiwa, a celebrated writer and environmental activist, led the Movement for the Survival of the Ogoni People, MOSOP. The movement was not just a fight for land, it was a battle for dignity. With every rally and every speech, Saro-Wiwa and his comrades called out Shell for its complicity in environmental degradation and demanded accountability from the Nigerian government. The movement's peaceful protests gained international attention, but they also drew the ire of powerful enemies. Tensions escalated on May 21, 1994, when 4 prominent Ogoni chiefs were murdered during a community meeting. The military government, led by General Sani Abacha, saw the Ogoni uprising as a threat to its lucrative oil deals. He accused Saro-Wiwa and 8 other leaders of MOSOP, Barinem Kiobel, Paul Levula, Saturday Dobi, Nordu Awo, Felix Nuate, Daniel Gboku, Barry Borbera, and John Kapuinen, collectively known as the Ogoni Nine, of inciting the killings. Despite evidence suggesting that Saro-Wiwa was not present at the scene, he and his co-defendants were arrested and charged with murder. The trial, conducted by a specially convened tribunal, was widely criticized for its lack of due process and fairness. Reports indicated that witnesses were bribed to provide false testimony against the accused, and defense lawyers faced significant intimidation, leading some to withdraw from the case. Amnesty International and other human rights organizations condemned the proceedings as politically motivated and fundamentally unjust, but their pleas fell on deaf ears. As the 9 men faced their sentence, their voices did not waver. In his final statement, Saro-Wiwa declared, "We are going to demand our rights peacefully, non-violently, and we shall win. No force can silence the voice of the Ogoni people." But the regime was determined to silence them. On November 10, 1995, despite global appeals for clemency, the Ogoni Nine were hanged in Port Harcourt prison. The executions sent shockwaves around the world, drawing widespread condemnation from human rights organizations and governments. Nigeria was suspended from the Commonwealth, and protests erupted in capitals across the globe. The United Nations General Assembly condemned the executions, and numerous human rights organizations decried the Nigerian government's actions as a blatant violation of human rights. The role of the Royal Dutch Shell Company in the events leading up to the executions has been a subject of intense scrutiny. Allegations have surfaced accusing Shell of complicity in the human rights abuses against the Ogoni people, including the arbitrary arrest and execution of the Ogoni Nine. In 2009, Shell agreed to a $15.5 million settlement in a lawsuit filed in the United States, which accused the company of complicity in the human rights abuses against the Ogoni Nine. Reports suggest that Shell encouraged the Nigerian military to suppress community protests, fully aware that such actions would likely result in unlawful killings, torture, and other severe human rights violations. However, Shell has consistently denied any wrongdoing, maintaining that the settlement was not an admission of guilt, but a gesture of reconciliation. For the Ogoni people, the loss was devastating, but it was not the end. The sacrifice of the Ogoni Nine galvanized a movement that refused to die. In the years that followed, Ogoniland became a rallying cry for environmental justice and corporate accountability. Their struggle inspired new generations of activists, while international campaigns pressured Shell and the Nigerian government to reckon with their actions. In 2011, the United Nations released a damning report on the environmental devastation in Ogoniland, recommending a comprehensive cleanup. Though progress has been slow, the memory of the Ogoni Nine continues to fuel the fight for justice. Ken Saro-Wiwa once wrote, "You can kill the messenger, but you cannot kill the message." The story of the Ogoni Nine is one of resistance and sacrifice, a painful reminder of the cost of standing up for what is right. Their voices, silenced at the gallows, still echo in the Niger Delta, urging the world to listen, to act, and to remember. Please like, share, and follow or subscribe to this page for more. Thank you.